G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome, everyone. Today I'm interviewing Cesar Hasselmann from AMH Consulting. He's based in Brisbane, Australia. Thanks for your time today, Cesar.
Well, thank you, mate. I appreciate your time and I appreciate the opportunity.
Let's start with how we know each other. So Jen Villegas reached out and connected us and thought you'd be a good guest for the audience today.
No, I appreciate it, mate. Yeah, she's one of those persons that really add value to your life. She's very good, man. Thank you for it.
Tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
Okay, so yeah, I have a consulting business and I do coaching, mentoring as well, and some workshops and retreats, but everything starts from the consulting side. So I break down business, I do a kind of X-ray on that, 360 degrees view. I analyze people, analyze market, analyze tools, policies, procedures, suppliers, market share, growth, opportunities, if they would like to go for the growth, if they would like to go for acquisitions, they would like to grow just the net profit, if they would like to do prepare to sell, or if they need a succession plan. And then what we do is we set the process that they have today properly to allow them to go for any of those adventures in the future and making them grow. The biggest thing is help them to manage their today income to make that happen without needing to put too much money into it to make the change.
Right. And you work with a very select few clients, don't you?
Yes, I have a referral business today. I believe this journey is a matter of having an engaged link in between both parties.
Yeah.
As your client can choose you, you also can choose them to see if the best fit. And then once you have the harmony set properly, we both grow. That's for sure.
And how did you start out?
Yeah, I arrived in Australia. I was doing a consulting business in my old business in Brazil that I grew that for 120 employees business. And when I arrived in Australia, I arrived with one sabbatic year. But my first 2 months and a half, I was feeling that I was just throwing money away and I was needing something to work. And then I start to help a small business for free, giving some tips. And suddenly in 6 to 8 months, I made $120,000. And I say, oops, okay, that's a good way to do it. And then I say, let's go for industry that I really can make money. And then I start to fit myself in real estate. And then from real estate, I knock people's door and I ask them an opportunity to sell houses. And they asked me to do a research and come back. And I got excited. In 2 days, I did a big research. On the third day, I called them. You're free to talk. Can I show you my research? And then he gave me 15 minutes. He allowed me to talk for 3 hours. At the end, he says, mate, I cannot ask you to come to do sales. You learn in 3 days what took me 12 years. Wow. I want you to break down my business.
Yeah. Wow. Great. And so
that's the way it started.
Yeah. What about going, so back on the business in Brazil, you had about 120 staff, the consulting, was that similar consulting to what you were doing?
No, the business was not a consulting business, but the way that I used to sell the business was a kind of consulting because you have a lot of big barriers in technology. My business we used to develop everything after SAP system, SAP system, right? And we used to do B2B, B2Cs. We used to do all the integration with technology and websites, all those things that 15, 16 years ago was a kind of hard for people to crack in.
Yeah.
So all the big brains in marketing industry, some of them has a good technology side and website side, but they don't know how to read the client properly. And because we came with the knowledge of breaking down the client to be able to give a better process, internal process for them, and we launched a lot of universities online for the client itself, for the internal clients. And I became a specialist that I help the big big marketing companies to win the accounts for the internet and technology.
Yep.
So that's allowed me to grow much quicker than anybody else, because I have the backbone of the big companies that are already doing working with big brands. So that was a backdoor that I found it. And at the same time, as I was growing, I was able to start to compete with them too.
Yep. Right. Well, maybe we'll go back a bit further, because you started in business about the same age as I did, 13. We're both actually born in the same year. So I started mowing lawns at 12 or 13. My daughter started her first business last year and asked me if she was the youngest in the family. I said, I think you are at 8 years old. I'll ask my dad.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a good one.
What was your first business at 13?
Oh yeah, that was just life guiding you through, right? I went to my best friend's house to spend the day with him, and his sister, which was 4 or 5 years younger than us, was having a party, and then the DJ didn't show up.
Yeah.
So I used to do mixing musics at home, just my little things. So what we have done is we run to my parents' house. I steal from my parents all the good gears that they have in the living area. I bring my mixer, and then we start to do her party, right?
Yeah.
And because we're excited, full of energy, we just not put the music. We start to dance with them. We start to jump, bring them over, bring the parents, and we make that party energy comes up out of everybody. So at the end of that party, we have more than 7 invitations to do parties for all the kids and for the parents.
Right.
So and everything starts from there. So 4 years later, we have a team of 7 people. We have 4 cars. We're doing 6 to 7 parties per weekend. Yeah.
So you were 17 then?
Yeah, so that's when my friend died, and I lost the desire to keep doing it, and I gave the keys back to his mom, because everything come together when you're in a flow, right?
Yeah.
So his mom has a floor building that she was not using. She put us there for free to get the vibe going. And then every time that we're dealing with money, management, contracts, she was looking after everything.
Yeah.
And she was taking us to states to buy the fancy gears when the money started to arrive. So I never saw $1 of that money. We just have a very good ride.
Yep.
And we never chase for the money. We're just having fun.
Yeah, that's great. And Cesar, you've just finished writing a book. Tell our audience a bit about the book, what the title is.
The title is The Life Breakthrough. Is actually a book that one of my clients' wife was asking me to share the beauty that happened with their lives and happened with all the clients, because I do some clients meeting once a year, and they talking about it and they share what's happened in their life since we have started to engage with them, and the change of coming from not having much and having 10, 15 different assets, having good money in the bank. Life is just good. And, some of my clients I have for 10 years almost. And yeah, we came in a big journey from 2.3 million turnover to 45 million. And from the smaller business in town to the biggest business in town. So we do have a good run. And then she says, Cesar, why you don't try to share more with more people? And that hit me badly, and I started to write a book. That was 4 years and something ago, 5.
Yep.
Took me 2 years to put things together, and then COVID hit it, and I discovered that and the book is all about life-work balance, right?
Yep.
So I discovered that people was trying to survive. Life balance is nothing. It will be a damaged thing to launch. And I read my book again, and I discovered that my book actually was too deep. And I don't believe people are going to enjoy to read, because I was going from completely different places to show the big picture.
Yep.
And I sliced that book in 5 books. And this is the first of them.
Wow.
Of them.
Yep.
And the book is all focusing, helping you to go to the roller coaster of the emotions that you go through being an entrepreneur or a business owner, having no one that you can trust to share your deep emotions or your deep needs. And that is a lonely trip. So I help to break that down and show life has cycles, business has cycles. If you can combine them together properly and understand how to manage that, you can go through. So that's the Life Breakthrough book.
Great. We'll link through to it in the show notes for sure.
I will. I will send you some books for you. And if you'd like to give it away, feel free to give it
No,
away
thank
too.
you. Yeah, we'll do. And do you have some key numbers you can share to illustrate the growth of AHM?
Yeah, so the business, the consulting business was very, I have a lot of thoughts before I launch, and I use the same mechanic that I used to use in my 120 employees company. So the consulting to be scale, you need to have a help on the implementation, right? So the way that I did my first year was I focused for 3 to 5 good clients to give me brand.
Yep.
And then from that, usually 80% of them is clients that you might can keep working with and help with the implementation. So my numbers on the first year was I sold 6 consulting. In the average on that stage, I was selling for 25,000 plus GST. And then after that, I have 4 clients that in average per year is $70,000 to $150,000.
Yep.
And then in my first year, I have sold 6 consulting and I have 4 clients for 18 months.
Right.
So that was the start. But today the consulting gives me around 1.2 million in revenue.
Yep.
The coaching mentoring give me 870 or something like that in the consistent process, and they are more long-term relationship. And the workshops and the retreats, it's something around 350, 400
Oh, fantastic.
$1,000. Yeah.
We always ask like how many team members you started out with this business. Was it just yourself and then you built up? Yep. And how many?
Myself, and I.
3 of you. How many full-time equivalents are you up to now?
Oh, I try to keep it very tight.
Yep.
I have 2 people that I can give my life to it. They just awesome people. And then from those 2 people, I have now I have another one that's a full time. That's my future mini me.
Yep.
And then everybody else comes and goes, is hourly rate. So my solid team is of 4,
Yep.
inclusive me. And then I have more 2 to 5 that fluctuates, depends
Yes.
what I'm doing.
Yep. I could imagine coming from having a business with 120 team members. I certainly wanted to downsize over the last 10 years as well. It's just more fun, less people, more fun.
Yeah, I'll tell you, in a country that the rules are made for, if you're a business owner, you have 120 child because you need to supply them. You supply them the health insurance. You supply them everything that the government cannot supply properly. And if you don't do it, the government come back on you.
Yep.
You know. So yeah, having a 120 employees company with a bank behind you and have board members that has one member that represents a family, the other member who represents the financials of the company, and you are the one with technology enough to discover that those 2 guys are stealing from the family.
Wow.
Is not the best place to be.
No. When was the moment you felt like you had succeeded?
When I look around and I say I have big names calling me partner. In some stage of my life, the CEO, president of Ogilvy, was one of my partners, not partner in business, but partners in day-to-day business, right? A person that
Ogilvy is one of the biggest marketing and advertising agencies in the world, started by David Ogilvy.
That's it. So, and then the thing that I have is having receive a call from that guy asking you to help to get a big brand on board is the type of thing that really that was very special. To be invited for his marriage celebration in a house that you 2 tried to rent to spend the time, and he said no. It's special. Was special.
And what does success look like to you?
Success look like is if you have a very good life balance and you can choose what to do with your time. For me, you achieve success because the money is consequence. And if you tie that up in your day-to-day and you cannot trust people enough to allow you to have free time and free will for more money that you have, I believe you need to reevaluate what success means for you.
number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business?
Be well organized and know exactly what you do in one phrase.
Yeah.
So for me, it's hard to sell what I do, to do what I do and sell what I know. It's hard. I have bring people from all over the shop to try to give me a sentence that can tells what I do. And because I can go multiple industry and I can resolve almost everything in business, it's hard to put myself in a different level of average consulting.
Yep.
Without being me.
Yes.
And then being me is not me. So you're gonna help others. It cannot be about you, right?
Yes, that's right.
So.
And how did
so
you go? Sorry.
I believe that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I believe that's the key point. Try to understand what you do and what you sell in one phrase.
Yes.
If you cannot understand that in one phrase,
then how
you're missing.
Yeah. Your customers aren't going to be able to understand it.
That's right. And then you're missing a big opportunity to understand how you can get better in your business. Because once you have that one line, then you're going to see how powerful that is against your culture, against your process. And then if you have a HR program to get people on board based on your values that you found from that, you're going to find the people who are going to stick to you forever.
Yeah.
But if you do it the other way around, you try to find good people to get your brand better, then you're going to find the people who are going to stick for you just enough for them, for themselves.
And how did you fund your business?
For me, it was easy because I was referenced on the market when I was doing the business that I start with. So that guy that we start to talk about it, who invited me to check his business, we became business partner. We grew his business 380% in 12 months.
Yeah.
And that put me in all of it. So people was talking about me, was trying to understand who I was. And that's the time that when became the time that I was supposed to start to receive my goods and my money, he said, I don't believe it's fair. I'm doing this for 20 years. You came in here yesterday and I don't believe it's fair you make that much. So what I have done is, you're my best reference. I'm going to teach the others what I have done here for you.
Yep. Right. If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
You have different aspects of the industry that I have the biggest market share for my income, right? Which is real estate. So I believe one of the key points that you have in Australia is it's a very stable industry. You buy a house here, you're gonna make money. You don't know when, depends how you buy it, but you don't know when, but you will make money. And if you know how to buy it, you'll make money day one.
Yeah.
Now, so I do small developments myself. And that's a big part of my routine on my private life, because I believe that's what sets me up for other things that I do and allow me to just be able to keep choosing my clients, right?
Yep. Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
That's an easy one. I believe when you bring someone to do a consulting, actually, as a business owner, you're also learning how to be able to trust a third party and how to be flexible to understand that you have problems. And sometimes the problem that the owner, majority of time, the problem that made them make the call to bring me on board, it is not the real problem that they need to resolve.
Yeah.
Right. So the written problems are the problems. And then the question that they don't want to answer are other problems. And ego, so many years of doing business, listen to things about your child, which is your business, sometimes don't allow you to be flexible. So that part on the consulting side is easy because you're going there with data to do it. But the biggest challenge is when you start the implementation, okay? Because you have a period of time that people needs to allow other people to learn, mistakes that needs to be understanding and needs to allow to happen.
Yep.
And then from there, you start to get results. So in that period of time, it takes 3 to 6 months, the owner can say, Cesar, I cannot see the results, I'm not doing anymore. And he's gonna lose the whole trust of the team. I'm gonna lose a client that I know that was not prepared to have me on board.
Yeah.
And he's gonna be in the place that he doesn't know what to do next.
Yeah. It's very hard. I mean, I work with, do a little bit of coaching, more out of fun and interest. So if I find the business interesting and the people nice, it's really hard to find those owners that have their ego in check and are prepared to change and that aren't assholes ultimately. So I think, I don't know, how have you gone about finding or getting better at just finding the alignment with people?
Yeah, I believe that's a way to approach them. Do we have time that I can share a history with
Yeah,
you?
sure. Yeah.
Cool. So I have one of my best clients has referred me to another client, a
Yeah.
potential client, a prospect, right? So and then I went there to have a coffee with that person. I could see that's unorganized. Took him 3 or 4 weeks and 3 or 4 times to try to catch up back again. He lost the connection, come back again. Anyway, we have a coffee one day, and on the coffee I asked him for 5 questions, and all those questions was trying to check how much cash flow he has to be able to survive and how long, because he lives, his business is an engineering business and lives from projects, but big projects with Queensland Rails and blah blah blah. And then what's happening there is those 5 questions show me that from what he explained with the team and what he has as an income coming, not savings, nothing, was just projects that he has today, how much money he generates. I could see he has 6 months of surviving without a new project, right? So and then 20 minutes of meeting, I say, mate, I'm sorry, but what's your exit plan?
Yeah.
And then say, what are you talking about? Say, oh, from what you told me, you have 6 months of fresh income coming. So after that, you have, I believe he was with 12 employees in that stage. And say, you have a good team that you're saying that you have a good instructor that you use. How are you going to keep it up with that when those projects going to end in the next 6 month time?
Yeah.
And then he said, all of you consulting, you're trying to scare people to take you on board. You're just a bullshitter.
Yeah.
I believe the meeting's finished. I'm not here to be listened to bullshit. I have a coaching, I have this, I have my account, and nobody told me that so far. I'll say, that's okay, mate. Don't worry about the paying for the coffee. I pay for the coffee. Thank you for your time. We went off. He called my client and say, you're supposed to fire this guy. This guy's a bullshitter. Don't keep him, blah, blah, blah. And my client says, mate, what he told you, what he asked you to do. And say, he told me that I have this, and that. So it's just wrong. I said, mate, just double check. So my client told me, just double check. So 2 weeks later, he calls me, say, hey, Cesar, I believe I owe you apologies. And then I say, he's a big ego. He's not the type of client that I would like to deal with.
Yeah.
He's already out of my cards. But because he's a very close with my best client,
Yeah.
I say, you know what? Let's give these guys another shot. I say, why you believe that you owe me an excuse or apologies? They say, oh, because I believe I was rude. I say, okay, but why you believe you was rude? Oh, because I told you this and that. I say, that's okay, but why have you done that? And then he say, oh, I don't know what you want me to say. I say, because I was right? And then he say, what? I was right or wrong, mate? You're calling me again because you have checked it and I was right. Is that right? I say, fuck me. Yeah, the guy told me that you're gonna be pissing on me on that. And I say, yeah. I say, is that right? I say, yeah, that's right. So I would like to book another coffee. I say, okay, I don't do coffee with you anymore, mate. And then I say the name of a very fancy restaurant,
Yeah.
and I like expensive wines.
Yeah.
So if you really would like to meet with me, you shout it that this time. I'm not paying for it, and I'm gonna be there. It's okay. Okay, so we went there. I got a $750 bottle of wine. I arrived 20 minutes earlier, and when he arrived, the bottle of wine was already half. And then we start to talk, and he realized when I told him, mate, drink the wine. It's expensive. You're paying, and then he started to click it in, and I say, you know what? You're right, Cesar. I deserve that. So when he click it in and say, I deserve that, I say, oh, I can deal with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Makes sense? And he became my client. We went from 2.5 to 37 million in 2 years and a half, almost 3 years.
Yep.
And 2 weeks in the hospital for him.
Wow. Right. Yeah, I think a lot of business owners, they are the ones that are in the way of their business and their business growth because they're so obstinate and their ego's out of check. So it does take strong characters like yourself and I to be able to hold a mirror to them and just call bullshit, or just keep asking why until they get to the root cause of actually why am I behaving like this? And bring some reality to the situation. My turn for a very quick story. I'm actually in Perth at the moment. In Western Australia. I'm here for a strategy day today. One of the boards I sit on, and it's almost 3 years ago that I started sitting on this board. It's a very fast growing gin and vodka distillery in the Swan Valley. And I met James 7 years ago when I was running a big whiskey distillery in Tasmania. The founder and I came over here to lobby the federal government for some excise relief, which we got later that year. And then they've increased by a factor of tenfold now last year, which is great for the industry. But I said to Bill, we're not just going to fly all the way to Western Australia, which is 4 hours from where I live in Hobart, and just meet with the libs. We're going to go and see some distilleries you haven't been to before, because he's known as the godfather of Australian whiskey. So we went and I lined up a heap of distilleries to go and see. And one of the last ones was this one out in Swan Valley. And James had just bought this, it was called Black Swan Distillery. And he showed us around, had the tasting room out the front, the distillery out the back in a garden shed. And as we're leaving, I said, I'd never met James. I just lined it up on email and said, James, you've got to change the name. I know you just bought the business, but it's a shit name. It's got a shit reputation in the industry. And the logo and the brand is just terrible. You've got to change it. And anyway, he didn't like that. I could see he was a bit taken aback, but I do that deliberately most of the times, even in board meetings, because I just don't want to deal with people that aren't ready for change. So I said, look, you don't know me from a bar of soap, so I'm sure you've got some marketing people in your network. Just go and ask them. I'm sure I'm right about this. And anyway, 3 weeks later, he rang me up and said, you're right. We're changing the name. And their name they've had that name for the last 6 years. And then 3 years ago, he rang me up and said, my mentor has just gotten too busy. And I was just thinking the other day, why aren't I talking to Troy? Why haven't I got him on the advisory board? And so it was because I was very frank and upfront, and neither of us had time for bullshit. I do like to be very, very clear in my opinions.
And that's the only way that you're gonna have a very good relationship, because they might didn't like it. They go back home, they think about it, and they go back and they say, "Oh, okay." And the other way around happens as well. So sometimes when you try to do acquisition, I have a client that we are doing acquisition. And then I told him that the business owner is the problem from the business that we're trying to buy.
Yep.
And I told him that I can see the bullshit, the political games, all those things that we don't have in our culture. You're not supposed to allow to come into their culture. We have a beautiful growth business. Every year we're going 20 to 35% growth for the last 5 years in a row. And a person like him will break that culture straight away. And then my client says, in the middle of the meeting, and then we have the key stakeholders from his operational business, and then he said, "Oh, I don't agree with Cesar about it." And this was a conversation. We started that conversation for acquisition 2 years earlier about that person. And then I went back home, and I was thinking, what kind of advice I'm giving to him, and then how much I possibly could be wrong in saying something like that can damage the future of the company, because that's my responsibility, right?
Yeah.
So I could not sleep properly that night thinking about it. And I wake up in the morning and I say, mate, I have a meeting with him and say, mate, I don't believe that observation that you have said is quite right. Could you please break down why you believe that your thoughts different than mine? Because we have even when we're not together, we talk to third parties, we say the same thing, different way, but the same content, right? And then he explained for me and said, no, you're wrong here, mate. You're wrong there. You're wrong here. You're wrong there. And then I put myself a little bit apart from the final touch from the acquisition process. And I told him, mate, do a run, and then I'm going to be on the backbone instead to be with you on the meetings. And then let's see if I can have a different take from what he's doing from the meetings, and we keep catch up. So he goes for the meetings, we have a face-to-face, or we have a Zoom meeting to double check where he's at. And then at the end of that, when we were about to close the deal, because he was pushing to close the deal, $2.9 million deal, And I told him, mate, for the last all meetings, today is the decision that you need to make. I point all the key points that I believe that was open on his relationship. And then I just show him what I could see, and I gave to him and say, what do you think? Right? Then he arrived at the same page at me. We didn't bother the business, and then we got away from it. The guy sold the business only 2 years later because he was bullshitting for us and trying to manipulate the whole process. Also save us. And we bought three other business much smaller than him. We became much bigger than him without having the problem with any culture thing.
Yeah.
And we make money day one. So
so important to have that bullshit detector, isn't it?
yeah, and it's important for you to allow your client to commit their mistakes, because it's a journey that you're there to help them, to support them, not to tell them what to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at the time that they start to rely on you in what to do, you're doing wrong, because they're gonna pay any kind of consequence of your mistakes. Now, so the best way is, if you choose the hard way to do business, I'll help you through it. And I'll tell you, okay, that's the way that you feel comfortable with, I'm with you. But it is an easier way to do it. You don't like it, that's okay too. So, and then you navigate with them through their own beliefs. If you take this away from your client, they will not achieve the goals that you both can achieve together.
Yep. Yep. What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
Culture, the business belief from the high end executive and top end business, understand the mindset, behavior, culture change, and attach that to the personal needs, and then plus the internal culture, the conflicts, the no spoken language of dealing with the business that pays your wage. Once you discover that and discover people's aims, you set the business for growth, because you start to put the synergy at the right direction.
What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth?
Being honest with people that's accommodated, because it's a big part of the growth that you need to rely with the admin people.
Yeah.
And admin people doesn't like change.
Yes.
That's simple as.
It's one of my sayings. I believe people are the hardest thing in small business, and where the value is at.
That's right. And the people that you sometimes, the other thing that's a problem is, sometimes a business owner or a high-end executive, they fire the people that they don't like or they don't feel comfortable around them.
Yeah.
And they keep the people that please them sometimes. And then they should take it away, people who doesn't add value.
Yeah.
And they need to try to understand how to make that person that they don't like succeed, because if they gifted for something that he needs,
yes,
it just allow them to have more responsibility, allow them to commit more mistakes, and don't go on them or having a go on them when they commit mistakes.
Well, that comes back to two things. I think having a healthy ego. So you, as the leader of the business or the owner, you're open to change. You're open to saying, I fucked this up. I'm vulnerable. I make mistakes, etc. And secondly, so one, you got to be, as the owner, prepared to change and listen. But secondly, is that culture piece. A big part of that of culture is having a trusted environment where people can call you on things, or even confess their own mistakes, as opposed to just having the fear of, I'm going to get fired for fucking this up.
No, that's right. And then people need to understand that the fast way to grow is committing mistake. The thing is, if you have a culture that you can fix mistake quicker, you grow faster.
Yeah, totally agree. What do you love most about growing a small business?
The joy that you have at the end. The seeing people's growth, seeing people that's supposed to be on the streets because the business cannot see their value, and being in a high level management forever, and see the business owner that has no time for the personal life, kids, having free will to do what they want, and cash it up.
Yeah.
So being able to go everywhere that they want it, that's actually what's making me fulfill my personal dreams.
What has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
for myself or towards to my clients?
For yourself.
Oh, it's no better day. It's no better day than today. So you're not supposed to think about yesterday, and you're not supposed to be worried about tomorrow if you're trying your best today.
I love that Chinese proverb. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today.
That's it. And the other thing is, in my book, I talk about it. People don't realize the power of saying present, because actually present is a translation from gift.
Yes.
So today is a gift. So if you can live your life understanding that today is the best day for you to be a better person, you lose the grip.
What is the number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
Understand the numbers.
Yep.
So you're not supposed, I don't like P&Ls, but I base everything that I do in history, financial history, sales history, people's history. Everything that I do has a base there, because from there, you're not going to get that far from the tree.
Yep.
Make sense? And then you start to have questions, you start to analyze things, and you're going to get close to that. So if you understand your numbers, your key numbers, I call magic numbers. If we break down the whole business and we find 3 to 5 numbers that if you achieve them,
yep,
you will be with your net profit and a high net profit. You're going to be above your break even, all those things. You don't need to call your accountant to say how much money I made last month.
Yeah.
And that's too late. So every people who learns from understanding the profit and loss from the last 3 months, they lost 3 months of potential better revenue, because you have an option in between those months to make better choices. Make sense?
Yes. Yep. Totally. I'm a numbers guy. Yeah, I believe your forecast, your financial modeling is the backbone to a successful business, and having those handful of KPIs, exactly what you're saying, so important.
That's right.
Be the change you want to see in your business. Become more productive and less stressed with our free Transform Your Performance online course. Once you see the benefits, put your entire team through the course at no cost. We start out by telling you the secret to guaranteed success, then over 100 lessons help you be more focused, present, productive, and feel more in control about work. growasmallbusiness.com.
Perfect question for you. 120 team members in your business in Brazil. You've worked with a lot of clients, with many people. Can you talk to how you've added people to the team? Some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
Oh, yeah, we have a lot.
We don't have another 3 hours.
Yeah, no, we have. I have a guy that was very good to the design, and everyone from the big companies want him, and you bring him over. Knowing that he sucks for the culture, he sucks for the relationship with people, but the client loves him.
Yeah.
And then he allowed me to have accounts with the government, with big oil and gas company in my country that was the government, because the people from that key stakeholders that can choose love him.
Yeah.
Right. But he's the guy you cannot put in an office to work with others. His best time of work is at night. He needs to have some substance coming and going. So he's a specialty of creator.
Yeah.
But deal with him was who deals with stars.
Yes.
Knows what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Or if you have a best sales guy that nobody likes, he will not be a person that you can keep in the team, and he's the reference for us to fire to show everybody else the culture is back.
Absolutely. Otherwise, they are undermining your leadership. If you don't act on that and get that arsehole out, it's just pervades a toxic culture. Then you'll find other A players who may not be as visible as A players, because sales is quite a visible role. Other A players in the team will start walking, and that's a huge cost to your business.
That's right. But at the same time, was a 3.5 million client account that we have. And with all the deliveries, we could arrive in 5 million a year just from one client.
Yeah.
So, and yeah.
That would have been a tough call to make.
No, we did. I did the call at the end. So I choose to not have the client anymore. But That because the crisis was arriving, the client needs a 7 days by 24 hours support and look after. It's just a nightmare to keep the client happy. So the markup is not that good. So the crisis arriving is better for you to have the best clients who gives you the most and take the load of 120 employees and shrink for 40, 50 and have the same profit in your pocket.
That's it.
No.
Yeah. What are some things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
Depends of your leadership and what you like to do. So if you do something that you love, it's easier because then you are leaded by a reference, right? So you just need to take and pay attention in how you're dealing with people and who is your client. So your client is your team, is the people who delivers the service and the dream that you have for others. So how you deal with them. So if you treat your clients who pay your bills better than your internal clients, you have a problem of personal values there. And that's going to reflect in your culture.
Tell the audience how you've handled balance.
Balance is something that I master, I believe, in my life. I don't create expectation, and I try to predict what could be the bad side of everything that I choose to do. And then if the bad side arrives, what are my options? So as soon that any bad side arrives, I already know where I'm going. I don't waste time trying to punish myself or talk that the others people fall. When I arrive in a place, I take my responsibility and I get all the avenues that I believe I can go right and wrong. And then I focus on the right ones. And if the wrong is coming because somebody else choices, I cannot do anything about it. I can just manage my behavior, right? So I don't waste time. I turn my back and I keep moving forward.
How much professional development have you invested in yourself over the years?
Almost every day, mate. We do that all the time. If you're not questioning who you are, what you're doing, and if you can be better than yesterday every day, you stop. You're gonna be an unhappy person, especially if you're a leader, and you're gonna arrive in a place you're gonna need help from somebody else to tell you how good you are. If you cannot stop and see, I have done something wrong about someone yesterday. Let me know why have I done that. If you don't learn from your own behavior, or if you watch something and you see that's wrong, why is that wrong, and you try to just break that down in your own way. And if you need help or talk with people, please do. And you need to learn more skills. You're not going to have a long, last good relationship, professional relationship with people surrounding you.
Have you had mentors or coaches along the way?
Yes, I have key people that I met, and I have opportunity to be part of the environment that they are in a much larger and better place than I am. That I ask them every time that I met someone, I ask them to become my mentors. And of course, you have the professional ones like us, but usually when I'm targeting a specific knowledge that I would like to learn, and I have access for those powerful people. I asked them. The last one that I asked was a guy that do all the big things in real estate in America. He builds the hospitals and military places, and he buys everything for Amazon for them to create the warehouse and everything. So that was the guy that I was asking to be my mentor.
That's good. Wow. And do you have a board of directors or advisors at the moment? Sounds like you had a board back in Brazil.
Yeah, I used to, but I took myself away from all the executive level mindset because I feel happier when I help a small business that doesn't matter if they're big or small, but they family business, that they have those issues that nobody would like to talk. And if you have a executive consulting style, nobody touch on that. Everybody knows the problem, but they go around and they have a client forever, right?
Yeah.
So when you touch on that, you have two options: or they accept you, or they fire you. But I am open. I am open to check some board members that I really can see that I can add value and can help them for growth. I'm always open for things that I can help, that I see that my skill can add value.
Now you've exited a business, and you also work with clients about exiting, or at least thinking about exiting. Any advice for our audience that are thinking about exiting, or perhaps they're not thinking about exiting, and what advice would you give them?
Yeah, so it depends on stage of life, right? I have a thing that I call the cycle of life. You have the stagnation mode, right? And that's just the place that probably you start to think about acquisition or selling,
Yeah.
right? Or succession planning. So what's happening there is you're supposed to start your business from there. If one day you'd like to sell your business, set up the business that can be sold. If one day you'd like to have your kids on the board or taking ownership, set up that in one way that you can allow that to happen, because you're going to have very good people working for you for many, many years that might going to have a better right to do that than your kids. So you need to understand how you set up the business from the start. That's the best thing to do. And if in one day you change, needs to set up in a way that you can move in between those 4 or 5 key points. You're going to have growth, you're going to have acquisition, you're going to prepare to sell, or you're going to do succession plan. You can have many other things if you're going to open on the market, whatever. But those are the 4 to 5 key points that everyone who start a business or have a business today, they're supposed to understand if they're ready for it. Because if they're not, they're going to spend a fortune in solicitors and accountant just to get ready outside of 2 or 3 years that they don't want to stick around anymore.
Yeah. Right, Cesar, on to our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
Mindset. My focus is having clients that they hungry for growth, and to be able to be there, they need to go through pain before, right? If they're very comfortable in the way that they are, it will be very hard for them just for egocentric, get them to grow.
Yeah.
You know, so I believe mindset is the first big factor. Acceptance and mindset.
Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
So it's a long time that I'm not reading business books. I believe it was a long time ago. I read a book called Blue Ocean Road. I believe that's the title. Blue Ocean Road.
Strategy?
Yes, Blue Ocean Strategy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. And my takes from the book is simple. Don't be worried about your competitors. You're doing your best. If you have a strategy and you're doing your best every day. So, and if you prepare yourself for what's coming next before you need it, you're gonna be ahead of everyone. So I start to do that. So one of my words for the day for my business, and my first topic, things of delivering, is be present before they need you.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the way that my first thing, and I teach everyone who works with me. I don't care what we're doing for the client today. I want to prepare them for what's coming after that.
Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
Because I was writing my book, I put myself completely out of medias because I don't want any kind of noise to make my lines different.
Yes.
So I'm finished my book for the 4th time now. So I'm gonna go back on the tools now. But what I used to use is I have access to a lot of successful people. I pick their brain.
Yep.
You know, I pick the brain, and every time that I have a doubt about something, I ask somebody else that I believe could be having a different view from what I'm having. If we still have time for one short history,
sure.
I can share another history. So I have a client that I was telling him we have a big problem with the CEO of the company, the huge company that he was being a supply, and then they owe him $7 million from the project that we were doing, right? And for 2 months and a half, 3 months, I was managing him to be able to take some decisions that they had, because they are in the thin line between solicitors and good outcome.
Yeah.
Right. So you can have a blow for solicitors fight, or you can have a good outcome. Very straight line, and needs to be like that because we have nothing to lose in that stage already, but we still have room to move because the cash flow was for 6 to 12 months. So he was kind of comfortable, and he was not taking the actions that he's supposed to take there. And I said, fuck me, how can I make you understand that? And one day I call him bitch, right? I start to call him bitch. I say, man, you are the CEO bitch. And then he's just pissed off. And then we start to talk about, okay, so one more action of CEO pitch. And he fucking hang the phone in my face and he called back, say sorry later. But I know that I push his buttons, but I could not make him make the move. He has since he was kid, he was punched in the face on his school. And he likes a fight, but he doesn't like to fight.
Right. Yeah.
Makes sense. And then for me to understand that, because he always good for the fight, but once coming down to throw the punch, he stops. He froze. So I call my brother, which is a big guy in States, and I say, fuck me, I cannot get around of these guys, fucking pussy and blah blah. And I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. Say, fuck, what else can I do? And then he asked me questions. Say, yeah, I did that, yeah, I did this way, and I explained how I did it to allow him to understand if his question, his point of view for that question was meaning what I have done, because that's another thing, the way that you interpret people's questions. Anyway, I say, fuck, he calls me bro, right? I say, fuck bro, you have done everything. This guy's just, as you said, he's a fucking pussy. And then we have another meeting, and I say, mate, first time in my life, more than 30 years doing this shit, first time I need to ask help for someone to try to understand a client. And you know what? They told me you're a fucking pussy too.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes you need those helps. You need to understand that, and it's best for you to try to find the people that's close to you, that you know they know better, or they have a different point of view that you respect.
Yep.
And get the information from there.
One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
One, two, depends. I believe CRM, if you can understand how to use properly, and you can be accountable to yourself to revisit consistently, is a tool that people just use 20%.
Definitely. Totally agree. Yeah. Final and my favorite question. What would you tell yourself on day one of starting out? All of, let me do the math, haven't had enough coffee, 35 years ago, aged 13.
As a 13, I would say don't change anything, mate. My problem started when I was 17. You know, at university, make more money that people was teaching me, and being cocky and everything going very well. Everything that I dream, it happens. So that in my 17s, I said, if I was paying attention in the lines of what was happening around me and being less cocky, I supposed to be 1,000 times bigger, or I supposed to create a thing 1,000 times bigger than what I have done in my life.
Thanks very much for your time today, Cesar. I think we could talk for the rest of the day, I'm sure. And I said to you before we hit record, when I'm up in Brisbane next, I'll definitely reach out so we can go out for a wine or maybe a beer at Fallon's, the brewery there I haven't been to yet, but really appreciate it.
Tell me the date.
I will. I'll be up there in the next few months. Yeah.
I have a unit just 200 meters from the Fallon's, mate. You can, if it's free, free. You can stay there.
Oh, thank you. Great. I think the audience will get a lot out of your journey, and really interesting, exciting, and you're helping a lot of business owners, and it seems like you're really enjoying what you're doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you, mate. I love my life, and I believe everyone can love the same, mate. It's just find the right tune between who you are and what you do.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.